Hello, how are you guys doing? I know I'm like super late, but welcome to my May and June's reading wrap up. I don't know what was wrong with me in May or what was going on, but I only read 4 books and yeah. The first one was Funny Feelings by Tarah Dewitt. This one was really cute. It was my first time reading a book like that. I am not used to read books with the celebrity trope. I tend to avoid it because I usually hate them. But this one surprised me for the best, and it was really wholesome seeing how their relationship evolved from being strangers to working together and to finally lovers. Also, the MNC's daughter added so much sweetness. Also, the MNC's daughter added so much sweetness to the story, and it was great to see that representation in a book. So I gave it 4 stars because my only issue with this book is that the end was kind of bland and I got a bit bored. But anyway, I super recommend reading this book if you're into friends to lovers, spectating single date romances with forced proximity. The Co-op by Tarah Dewitt. So I thought I was going to love this book, but it wasn't like that at all. And as someone who loves second chance romances, I was kind of disappointed. When I started reading it, I was so into it and I was really enjoying the main characters' banter and their bitterness with one another. But as soon as the storyline continued and they became more other than people who hated each other because of some miscommunication they had in the past, I honestly lost all interest in what was happening because one second they were throwing daggers to each other and the next second they were deeply in love, and I feel like the author didn't show any development on how they actually got there, so 2.5 stars. Savor by Tarah Dewitt. This book might be my favorite book Tarah Dewitt has written. This story centers around Sage, a local woman reeling from a recent breakup, and Fisher, an incumbent chef in town seeking a fresh start. They decide to team up for the town's summer's competition, and their partnership ends up turning into something more. The characters in this novel are well developed and very relatable. I loved Sage's character and their advices so much, and Fisher's vulnerability. Their bond makes the storyline engaging with the heartfelt moments, so I gave it 4 stars. Small town, forced proximity, slow burn, fake dating, and friends to lovers. If you like any of those tropes, this one's for you. The Problem with Players by Brittainy Cherry. Brittainy Cherry is slowly becoming one of my favorite authors. She did it once again. A small town sports role-plays second chance romance with forced proximity, flirty banter, and mental health representation. A baseball coach and her assistant coach getting their second chance at love? Sign me in. This book has everything you should wish for in a rom-com. I found myself in Avery the FMC along the book a million times, and it made me feel understood and connected with her. I love that this book touches some deep topics that are not normally talked about and were approached very well done. This author's writing is beyond mesmerizing, and if you haven't read anything by her yet, I suggest you doing it right away. 5 stars. Those were all the books I read in the month of May, with this last one being my favorite. Moving on to June, the first book I read was Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. My favorite book from her so far. I rated it 4.5 stars. This book really feels like a movie. I love rom-com so much. This was such a soon-worthy, delightfully funny, quick, and easy read that you won't stop smiling through it all. The Love Wager, also by Lynn Painter. I give this one 4 stars, even though I don't like that it's written in third POV. Somehow, this was cuter than the first book. The love declaration in this book is the best one I read in ages. Lynn Painter is always on a mission to write the most enchanting rom-coms ever. Whisky Business by Elliot Fletcher. This was my first time reading a book by this author, and it did not disappoint at all. This book follows April and Malcolm. April is a Brazilian actress who faces a career setback, leading her to return to her Scottish hometown. Despite her alluring background, she is determined to restore her family's whiskey distillery, showing a sense of loyalty to her roots. Malcolm, known as Mal, is a master distiller with a deep love for solitude. Despite his initial reserved attitude, he harbors unresolved feelings for April, showcasing an inner conflict between his desire for independence and his attraction to her. I truly read this book in an evening because I couldn't put it down. That's how hooked I was. The chemistry and tension between April and Mal is beyond words can describe, and their open door scenes are the best ones I've read in a long time. I absolutely adore this book. so I gave it 5 stars. Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. This author never fails to amaze me. I mean, I'm even shocked. I'll always just read and love whatever she writes, to be honest. Even though I still think Watch and Blackberry is still so superior, this was incredibly good, and it followed great the storyline from the previous book. I loved Lashland and Lark's banter and chemistry, so 4 stars. Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Listen, I may be biased because I love everything Ali Hazelwood writes, but this was really good and her spiciest book so far. It's insane how her books get better and better each freaking time. This book is a dual POV, but his was done in third POV, and that sure was interesting, and I think it was a game changer and fit so well. I also loved how open the main characters were with each other and how good their communication was. This book was so different yet so similar to other books this author has written, and I think that's amazing because you can tell that this is her brand. 4.5 stars. King of Sloth by Huang. Well, this was disappointing. I was beyond hype for it, but unfortunately I did not buy with it. Savor, the FMC, was so childish that I wanted to punch him every time he opened his mouth, but at least he had a good character development though. I also found the cameos from the Men of the Twisted series a bit too forced, to the point they didn't make any sense to me, so 3 stars for it. I really hope the next book, King of Envy, is up to par because I already find the main characters' relationship way too interesting. One Summer by Taylor Cole. What do I begin with? Sadly, I've been so close to the end of this book too many times. Firstly, this book has too many references to COVID. Secondly, the author literally finishes chapters between conversations and it made it hard to follow the story. This novel is also marketed as an enemies to lovers, but the main characters have a total of 3 meetings in the first half of the book and not really as enemies. And the FMC keeps stalking her ex online the whole book when suddenly, at the 90% mark of the book, she decides she's in love with the MMC and she's head over heels over him. Make it make sense. There's barely no romance in this book and the ending was too rushed, so that's why I gave it 2 stars. For the last 5 books, I'm not gonna get too much into them because I recently made a reading blog where I talk about all of them and I feel like I'll be repeating myself, so go watch that video if you'd like to know more about these books. Love Story by Lindsey Kelk. This book follows small-town school teacher Sophie Taylor and creative director Joe Walsh. They both initially dislike each other, but they end up sharing a cottage. All that while Sophie must decide if she can trust Joe with the secret that she is a famous but hidden romance author. The connection and chemistry between the main characters from the moment they first encounter each other was unparalleled. I liked how it highlighted the judgment we women face when we express our enjoyment of romance novels. This book also has an excessive inclusion of TikTok and Vogue references, which I find unappealing and dislike it a lot. But this was such a sweet love story. I gave it 3.75 stars, rounded up to 4. It started with a book by Camilla Isley, yet another stunning work from this author, 4 stars from me. This book follows Layton, who discovers a magical book that transports her to Layville Hills, where she meets her dreamy book boyfriend, Killian St. Clair. When Killian unexpectedly appears in her real life, Lee must decide if she can handle loving a fictional character come to life. One thing I love about reading Camilla Isley's books is that I become so immersed in them that my own thoughts just fade away and it's just a story unfolding in my mind like a movie. I just wish we had seen more of the background where Killian came from and all that stuff. But the banter was amazing as always in this author's books. Camilla Isley has the perfect recipe for writing rom-coms. Business Casual by B.K. Borison. This book follows Charlie Milford, an executive, and Nova Porter, a tattoo artist. They both agreed to an on-strings-attached night to deal with their attraction. However, their plan backfires when they found themselves wanting more. Second book I read from this author, and I enjoyed it so much that I am now eager to read the previous books in the series as soon as possible. The main characters had a flirty banter that was fantastic. I found this book really funny. The plot is very well paced and with the perfect amount of slow burn, and I think it has the perfect ending to a series, so 5 stars. And lastly, The Very First Night by Nicole Ryan. This book follows Kat Married, who wakes up 5 years in the past with a chance to change her choices. She must decide whether to fix things with the one that got away or discover if a true love is someone else. What bothers me most from this book is that the story feels unfinished, with the ending seeming too rushed and some things left unresolved that I need a second epilogue. But the plot twist in this book is one I did not see coming, even though I feel like I should have. I love how Nicole Ryan crafts every detail in her stories, so I gave it 4.5 stars. And those were the 15 books I read in May and June. I feel like this year I'm going slower than last year, and I'm even behind schedule for my Goodreads reading goals, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe and to follow me on all my socials. See you in the next video.